In the late 16th century, an ambitious England hungry for empire cast its gaze across the Atlantic. The goal was to plant a flag, a people, and a new English future in the soil of the Americas. This ambition led them to Roanoke Island, a sliver of land off the coast of what we now call North Carolina. It was here that a dream would be born, and it was here that it would become a nightmare. This is the story of the first English attempt to build a colony in North America, a community of men, women, and children who traveled 3,000 miles to build a new world, only to seemingly vanish from the face of the earth. For over 400 years, their disappearance has been one of America's oldest and most baffling cold cases, a sprawling mystery of over 100 souls seemingly erased from history, leaving behind only silence and a single cryptic word. But what if the story we've always been told, the story of a colony that was lost, is wrong? What if the clues to their survival have been hiding in plain sight all along? In 1590, John White sailed back to Roanoke Island to reunite with his family. He'd been gone for 3 long, agonizing years, delayed by a war with Spain. When he finally arrived, he expected to see his daughter Eleanor and his granddaughter Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. But the world he had left behind was gone. He found no people, no bodies, no signs of a struggle. The entire colony of about 115 men, women, and children had vanished. According to White's account, the houses had been dismantled, not destroyed in a panic. It was as if they had packed up and simply left. The only clue was a single cryptic word carved into a wooden post, CROATOAN. For more than 4 centuries, this has been America's most enduring historical mystery. We're going to examine the clues, the theories, and the latest archaeological evidence to try and finally unravel the fate of the so-called lost colony of Roanoke. To understand how a colony could disappear, you first have to understand why it was there. In the late 1500s, Elizabethan England was a nation brimming with ambition, but it was also constantly looking over its shoulder at the colossal power of Spain, which was pulling vast riches from its own American colonies. Sir Walter Raleigh, a charismatic courtier and explorer, convinced Queen Elizabeth I to grant him a charter to establish a settlement in the New World. His goals were pretty simple: create a base for English privateers to raid Spanish treasure fleets and secure England's claim to a piece of North America. The first attempt in 1585 was a complete disaster. It was a military outpost made up entirely of soldiers who were ill-prepared, ran low on supplies, and quickly angered the local Algonquian tribes. Within a year, they had abandoned the settlement and sailed home. But Raleigh was determined. The next attempt, he decided, wouldn't be a military fort. It would be a true colony. He recruited over 100 settlers, this time including families, farmers, and artisans. This was meant to be a permanent English future in America, and leading them was a man with a deeply personal stake in its success, the colony's governor and an accomplished artist, John White. In 1587, the new colonists arrived on Roanoke Island. Unlike the soldiers before them, this group was meant to put down roots, and soon they did. On August 18, 1587, John White's daughter, Eleanor Dare, gave birth to a baby girl named Virginia. She was the very first English child born in the New World, a powerful symbol of hope and a new beginning. But that hope was fragile. The colony was plagued by familiar problems. Supplies were dwindling, and their relationships with some local tribes had become tense and mistrustful. It was painfully clear that without a major resupply from England, the colony wouldn't survive the winter. The colonists persuaded a reluctant John White to make the perilous journey back across the Atlantic. He was the only one they trusted to get the vital supplies. He really didn't want to leave. His entire family was there, his daughter, his son-in-law, and his infant granddaughter, Virginia. Before he left, they all agreed on a plan. If the colonists had to move, they would carve their destination into a tree. If they were in danger, they'd carve a Maltese cross above the name. John White sailed for England promising he'd be back soon. He had no way of knowing he would never see his family again. When John White got back to England, he was met with catastrophe. King Philip II of Spain had launched his invincible Spanish Armada to invade England. Every available English ship and sailor was conscripted for defense. White's relief mission was officially canceled. For 3 years, he was trapped, desperately trying to find a ship while imagining his family and friends starving an ocean away. Finally, in 1590, he managed to hire a privateering expedition to take him back. On August 18th, his granddaughter's 3rd birthday, he landed on Roanoke Island. He saw smoke rising in the distance, and his heart filled with hope. But as he got closer, an eerie silence fell. The smoke wasn't from a cook fire, it was from a forest fire. The settlement was gone. The houses had been taken down, suggesting an organized move, not a panicked escape. There were no bodies, no bones, and no signs of a battle. But there were those clues. Carved into a tree, he found the letters CRO, and then on a sturdy post of the defensive palisade, he found the full word CROATOAN. Crucially, there was no Maltese cross. This meant they weren't in distress. CROATOAN was the name of a nearby island, what we call Hatteras Island today, and the name of the friendly Native American tribe that lived there. White was sure this was their destination, but before he could sail the 50 miles south to find them, a powerful storm hit, damaging his ships and forcing his nearly mutinous crew to turn back for England. He returned home broken and never again found the funding to search for his family. The mystery had officially begun. So what really happened to the colonists? For centuries, the most popular theories were the most violent. Maybe they were massacred by Native American tribes, or perhaps the Spanish sailed up from Florida and wiped them out. But there's a big problem with these theories. There's just no archaeological evidence of a battle or a massacre at the Roanoke site, no mass graves, no signs of a fight. and the orderly dismantling of the village doesn't quite fit with a surprise attack. Another idea is that they tried to sail back to England on their own and were lost at sea, but that doesn't explain the CROATOAN carving. So if they weren't killed and they didn't sail away, where did they go? The answer, it seems, was carved on that post all along. They went to CROATOAN. For years, this was just a theory, but now archaeology is providing compelling evidence. On Hatteras Island, the historical home of the CROATOAN people, archaeologists have unearthed some stunning finds. They found large quantities of hammer scale, tiny metal flakes that fly off during blacksmithing. This is significant because metalworking was a European technology totally unknown to the local tribes at the time. The amount of hammer scale found suggests an active English forge may have been operating for a long time within a Native American village, and that's not all. In the same soil layers dated to the correct time period, they found other English items, a Tudor rose emblem, part of a sword hilt, and iron nails. These artifacts found mixed with CROATOAN pottery and tools paint a picture not of a colony that vanished, but one that may have assimilated. It seems the colonists facing starvation made a logical choice. They went to live with their allies. The story might not be about getting lost. It could be about survival. But the story might be even more complex. What if they didn't all go to the same place? Evidence suggests the colonists may have split up. Researchers have been investigating locations inland, particularly a spot nicknamed Site X. This location corresponds to a fort symbol found hidden under a paper patch on one of John White's own maps. It wasn't made with invisible ink, but was a correction on the map that modern imaging techniques revealed. Here, archaeologists have found English pottery from the correct time period, suggesting a small group moved inland. This has led to the leading theory today that the colony separated, with some integrating with the CROATOAN on the coast and others venturing inland. The mystery of the lost colony has captivated us for centuries because it speaks to our deepest fears of the unknown. But the evidence now tells a new, more hopeful story. It seems the colonists were never truly lost. They were survivors. Faced with an impossible situation, they likely made a difficult decision. They left their failing settlement and moved, integrating with the local Native American communities who could teach them how to survive in this new land. Some went south to live with the CROATOAN on Hatteras Island, sharing their skills and building a new blended community. Others, perhaps a smaller group, seem to have traveled west, deeper into the mainland. The story of Roanoke probably isn't one of a mysterious disappearance. It's a story of adaptation, resilience, and the creation of a new multicultural community born from desperation and cooperation. The colony didn't vanish. It simply became something new. The descendants of Virginia Dare and the other settlers may not have been lost at all, but rather found a new home among the people who already knew this land. While we may never know the full story of every single colonist, the mystery is finally being unraveled, revealing a story far more complex and human than the legend ever was. What do you think is the most compelling piece of evidence? Do you believe they all assimilated with the CROATOAN, or did they split into multiple groups? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoy diving into history's greatest unsolved cases, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation.